You are listening to Majority Leader of the U.S. Senate, Chuck Schumer. A number of Democrats there on the floor of the Senate giving their reflections, delivering their speeches on this anniversary of the insurrection. Virginia Senator Tim Kaine will also be delivering his remarks there soon. He joins me now live. Senator, good to see you. 1 year ago today. I know it's never left your head nor your heart, and we still have a long way to go in moving forward. What do you think you remember the most from that day that still is carrying with you as we speak right now?
Kira, I am going to take the floor at about 1 o'clock to offer my thoughts about the day. And I went for a long walk this morning to try to collect my thoughts. And I have so many emotions about it. Some are sort of resolved and some are still not resolved. But I would say two dominant memories and emotions are, first, while we were barricaded in the chamber, I had this powerful feeling. I was so glad that I had told my staff to stay home. I was so glad that there weren't pages in the chamber. I just, even in the midst of confusion and fear and all of this violence, I had a sense of relief. Thank God I told my staff to stay home. My staff is young, altruistic public servants, and I didn't want them at risk, but I also didn't want them to be demoralized in their passion to serve the country. And I feared that events would happen that would be demoralizing, but even my imagination of what might happen, the actual events were far worse. The second emotion I had very powerfully was anger. And we've all been angry in our lives, so I'm no stranger to anger, but it was different. And it took me many months to figure out what that anger was about. And eventually I did figure it out months later, and here it was. Never in my life, I'm 63 years old, had anyone tried to disenfranchise me. You know, I'm a white male born in 1958. I was a civil rights lawyer, and I've fought for voting rights for others. But I've always been able to do that without any threat of anybody disenfranchising me. For 4 or 5 hours that day, there was this insurrection designed to overturn the expressed will of the American voters, to disenfranchise 80 million people who had voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris by throwing out the electoral votes of states that had gone for that winning ticket. And I realized, wow, this is what it feels like to be disenfranchised. Some people in this country have been disenfranchised their entire lives, and some groups of people have been disenfranchised for centuries in this country's history, but I had never experienced it personally. At the end of the day, that threat to disenfranchise me was over, but it made me look at this issue of the importance of voting and how debilitating and devastating it is to have your vote threatened or taken away. It made me look at it in a very, very different way. And, you know, I guess I'm sorry that I had to have that kind of personal experience to have a deeper level of empathy with those who've been disenfranchised throughout our history. But in another sense, I'm glad I at least now understand it better. And I don't want anyone to have to go through that. And that's taken me as a civil rights lawyer who's done voting rights work. I now think the voting rights issue is not just, you know, a matter of grave importance. I think it's sort of an existential and spiritual necessity that we get this done.
Yeah, Senator, it just reminds me, no matter what our age, no matter what stage we are in life, we can still always have an awakening. And we continue to. And, you know, some Republicans, including Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Senator Lindsey Graham, we've been monitoring the Republican response. You know, they've accused President Biden and Democrats of politicizing January 6th. How do you respond to that today?
I think they have an intense guilt feeling about their own reactions, that they facilitated and coddled and encouraged you know, a would-be authoritarian dictator in Donald Trump, that even when they knew that Donald Trump was wrong, they didn't stand up against him. And they're not willing to stand up against him now. They remain unwilling to stand up against him. So when they complain that we're politicizing the day, or when they stand rock solid to be obstructionist on voting rights legislation. Of course, they're going to try to say some high-minded words to justify their positions. But as I look in the eyes of many of my colleagues, I know they know that what happened was wrong, and I think they feel guilty that they were unwilling to stand up against it, and most of them are still unwilling to stand up against it. But that does not, if one party that has a 50-member minority in the Senate is unwilling to protect our democracy, that doesn't absolve the majority, the 50-member majority, of the responsibility. We have to protect this democracy whether Republicans are willing to or not. So I'm saddened that repeated efforts to get Republicans to help on voting rights have failed. Republicans won't even vote to proceed to a debate on voting rights. That's not even the passage. Just to proceed to a debate, only one Republican senator, Lisa Murkowski, has been willing to vote to proceed to debate on one of the voting bills, the John Lewis Act. The others won't even acknowledge it. It's like the gag rule in the 1830s and 40s that prohibited discussion on the floor of matters related to slavery. They won't even proceed to debate voting rights. And but again, whether or not they will shoulder the burden of fixing the ailment that manifested itself on January 6th, we have to do it. I'm glad you pointed out wherever you are in life, however old you are, you can always learn new things. I learned some new things last January 6th at age 62. January 6th is really close to the Epiphany holiday in my Catholic church. And, you know, we use the word Epiphany to describe things that we realize, new discoveries. Epiphany is a holiday about the arrival of, you know, wise men who were looking for something special, and what they found was very different than probably what they were looking for. And I feel like January 6th was an epiphany for me, but it can't just be an epiphany of realization. I think, you know, realizations, if they don't transfer into actions, are hollow. And so I think what we need now is action to fix the sickness that was demonstrated that day.
Well, we have a responsibility. I do as a journalist, you do as someone who's helping lead this country, to have those epiphanies, whether they're a spiritual epiphany or a professional epiphany. They change the way we think, the way we lead, the way we make an impact on this world, and how we have to continue making the change that is so necessary. We got to do it together. Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, the great state of Virginia, my state where I live too. I appreciate your time, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say on the floor. Senator, thank you.
Thank you, Kara, so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.